rich, slow simmered pork curry. It's kind of curry that's a little tangy, a little sweet. It's like no other curry you've ever tried. This is my version of Chiang Mai's hung lei pork curry. Okay, so everyone in the world probably knows about Thai green curry. I have to say this is probably one of the least known curries of Thailand in my opinion, but one of the most delicious. And it's such a unique kind of flavor because it's kind of like a sweet and sour flavor rather than just being kind of spices and aromatics. We're gonna get into it and I hope that you guys make this one at home because I would love for you to try out this particular style of curry. So first of all, we're gonna start off with some dried red chilies. So that's these guys here, just the large dried ones because I don't need this to be particularly fiery spicy. I just kind of want like a really deep red color. So I've had these guys soaking in some hot water, about 10-15 minutes, and I'm just gonna squeeze out the liquid. And if you guys have watched any of my curry paste recipes, you would know that I have a little trick for using that chili water a little bit later on, so don't throw that away. I just wanna chop up these chilies so they're a little easier to blend up. And now some lemongrass. Just need to bruise those stalks. And then you find often kind of like the outer layers of the lemongrass are a bit firm. So I like to peel those off and then just finely slice that lemongrass. So it's easier for the blender to deal with basically. Now we're going to go in with some galangal. So depending on how well you know your Asian ingredients, galangal kind of looks like ginger, but it's usually a lot pinker. The skin is a lot firmer, and if you smell it, you kind of get more of a citrusy, pine foresty kind of vibe going on. So what you do need to do with it though is just peel off that hard skin, and again, just finely chop. Now, for those of you in places where fresh galangal kind of isn't an option, I would go and try and find like canned or jarred galangal, which you can find these days. And you can usually order that online because it's shelf stable. So there's an option for you. Now, the next thing I want is some shallots. Now, I want some for my curry paste, first of all. And I want another couple of shallots for when I go to fry my paste and my pork belly and all my things a little bit later on. So with these ones, I just want to finely slice them. Okay, pop those on a plate for a bit later on. And now we're into like all the punchy spices and things. So I've got some garam masala here, some turmeric, and then shrimp paste. Now, I know shrimp paste isn't like, you know, the sexiest ingredient in the world. It sure is quite whiffy, but it does give you kind of like a funky pungency, umami, saltiness kind of thing. So if you can get a hold of it, please do try and use it. A little bit of salt here as well. And then let's blend this guy up. Okay, so here's the trick with making a curry paste in a blender. What's gonna happen is you're gonna get to this point where the blender's kind of spinning around, but the ingredients aren't still processing. So a lot of people at this point will add oil, but I think the oil kind of creates more of an emulsion, it kind of coats the ingredients, and I find you don't get the best, I don't know, flavor and fry a little bit later on. So I like to go in with some of the chili water that you've hopefully saved, because I asked you to at the beginning. And water will evaporate, so you can't really add too much because you can sort of fry it off later on. Now blend again, and then just keep going, scraping down the bowl and blending. If you need to add a little bit more chili water, that's cool. And this is the point you want to get to. So still a little chunky, like kind of a little rustic, which I quite like with homemade curry paste because then people know that you made it yourself, but still quite smooth. Okay, so now we can get going on cooking our curry. So just turn this on, a little bit of oil. And I'm gonna start these shallots off on quite a low heat. I don't want them to brown, I just really want them to soften. A bit of salt here to kind of extract some of that moisture and get those onions sort of nice and tender and soft. So these have been just kind of gently softening away there in the pan for a couple of minutes now. So now I'm gonna add in our curry paste. And the reason you always want to cook generally a curry paste in the oil before you get going on everything else is that there's a lot of raw ingredients in there. You've got the raw shallots, the raw chilies, the galangal, and I want to give those ingredients time to kind of mellow out and really heat through before I start to add some more ingredients. All right, so things are starting to smell good now. And so now I know that all of those yummy, fragrant ingredients that we added have started to release their aromas and their essential oils, and we're good to go with our other ingredients. So I want to add in my pork belly now. I've just cut that into kind of large-ish chunks. I've also taken the skin off. You could leave the skin on, but I kind of don't love that rubbery texture of like a slow braised pork skin for this one, so I've taken it off. Just give that pork, a few minutes just to start to colour. So even though my mum is Thai, I didn't grow up eating this particular curry because my mum is from central Thailand, which is sort of closer into Bangkok, whereas this curry is from way up north. So for me, it was kind of like your green curries and red curry stir fries and massaman curries that I grew up eating, much more typical of central Bangkok, or even famous Thai curries, if you like. When I went to Chiang Mai when I was older, I loved this curry when I first tried it. Okay, so pork's looking good. So this is tamarind, and this is going to give the curry more of that sour kind of note, which is less typical, I guess, of a Thai curry that you might know, which is more on the sweeter side with coconut milk, or the savoury side. So that's kind of like the, I guess, secret ingredient for this one. Now, in addition to that, I want to grab some palm sugar, and this is going to give us that sweet sour kind of business that we're after. And I also want a little bit of sweet dark soy here. This is mainly just to give us a bit of depth of colour. Now I'm going to add in some water. All right, so just let that bubble away a little, turn the heat down, and then pop the lid on. And you want to let that simmer away gently. Come back and check though, make sure it's not getting too dry in there. You can add a bit more water if you need to. And we just want that pork to be really lovely and tender. All right, so at this point, things are smelling rather lovely, I would say. So let's just have a look. Yeah, so we've got all those aromatics. We've got the, when you can smell the spicy? I can smell the spicy, and that's looking really yum. But we've got a few more things we need to add here to make it a really true Hung Lei Chiang Mai curry. So first of all, ginger here is really important. Now, I'm really lucky because I have a neighbour, this is a true story, a neighbour across the road who actually drops off the most amazing Asian vegetables to me. And he literally just dropped off this beautiful young ginger yesterday. So I was really excited to make this curry. So young ginger, you can see, has this really lovely kind of deep pink colour in places, but then it's also quite pale. You don't have that really leathery skin. So that's how you can tell that's a really young piece. Look, I have made this curry loads of times just using your regular run-of-the-mill kind of older ginger that you get from the supermarket. It's totally fine, but if you can get a hold of some really nice young ginger, it's really, really quite lovely. The point is here though, whether you're using young or older ginger, you want really lovely fine strips. Now, the other unusual thing I'm going to throw at you guys is pickled garlic. So pickled garlic might mean different things in different countries. This is a Vietnamese pickled garlic. I typically go with a Vietnamese or a Thai version of this for this particular dish. You can find it online or in an Asian grocery store. And you want to peel off the skin from each of these heads. And then they go into your curry. And then throw in some of that pickled garlic juice. So again, we're kind of making this curry a little tangy, which is a little different to your regular Thai curry. Stir all of that through, and then depending on how tender your pork is, if it needs a little bit longer to kind of get a little bit more fork tender, you can let it go for another 20 or 30 minutes. Okay, so this is looking pretty good here. That just looks so rich and lush. I love it. Okay, a little bit of coriander. Spoon out that curry into a serving dish of choice. Now, this is a really full-on curry. Like, it definitely needs some rice, some bread, other things I would serve, maybe steamed greens or something like that. But a little sprinkling of greens on top always makes for a nice addition. And then there you go. This is my Chiang Mai Hung Lei pork curry, a really big favorite of mine. I do love this one. Now let's see, shall we? Wow. It's really just like a big punch in the face. You kind of get so much flavor from all the aromatics and the spices, and then it's so tangy and then a little sweet. That pork is so tender and yum. Wow, I love this one, guys. Hope you can try it out. Yum. Hey guys, if you want to know whenever I'm releasing something new and delicious, then you should hit that subscribe button and the little bell so that I can let you know every time something new is coming out. Thanks, see you!